No, first of all, I want to thank these ladies for being with us tonight, and also our featured attendees, as well as all our attendees. So this year's theme was Pass the Mic and Tell Your Story. So we're going to do a little bit of that tonight. And we have a few people from some of the companies who would like to introduce themselves, which will hopefully be part and parcel of our networking session afterwards. So first of all, we have Marta here from GBX, if you'd like to say something.
Hello. So my name is Marta. I've recently joined GBX, and I'm part of Business Strategic Partnerships team. I'm a strong believer in distributed ledger technology and blockchain applications. Therefore, I'm going to focus really strongly on helping local businesses to come to GBX and find a mutual ground for relationships moving forward. Before GBX, I was a deputy COO for one of the startup fintech banks here locally, and I headed up local operations. I am a strong believer of fintechs, new technologies. I hold Oxford Blockchain Strategy Program, and as an interesting fact, I have master's degree in applied linguistics, which is completely different from exactly.
So welcome, Marta, welcome to the GBX and welcome to our event for the first time.
Thank you, it's a pleasure, thank you.
Okay, so we have another lady who I think a lot of people who are here probably know already. She became managing partner of EY this past year, and you don't need much of an introduction, but Angelique Linares.
Hi, I'm Angelique Linares. I'm the managing partner of our EY office here in Gibraltar. And you've said everything I was going to say already, so I became the managing partner way back 1st of July 2018, so this is my first year. And you probably know me because I've taken part in quite a few of our sort of women and women leadership events in the last few years. Yeah.
Thank you. So Marlene Dahle, you launched yesterday the mentorship program with the Ministry of Equality. So welcome to our event. Do you want to encourage people to come and talk to you about it?
Yes, we launched the second cycle of the Women's Mentorship Program last week, and we held an information event yesterday, and that was very well attended. But we would like to encourage as many mentors and mentees to consider joining the program so that we can continue to build and develop women's personal and professional expertise.
Fantastic. So I'm going to pass this microphone over to a good friend of mine who's done this with me before. Fiona Young, who's recently joined the team at Ramparts.
That's right, thank you, Denise.
Welcome.
I'm Fiona Young. I work upstairs with Ramparts. I'm a senior associate there. I'm a litigator by background, but as a woman, I love to talk. So my focus now is on communication and emphasis on mediation and trying to resolve conflict in a much more conversive and heartfelt fashion. So that's the field that I work in.
Thank you, Fiona. And right next to her, we have Sandra. And Sandra is from the team at Zappo. Zappo is a Bitcoin wallet, and they've been based here at World Trade Center. So why don't you tell us a bit more, Sandra?
Thank you. So it's Sandra Prieto. I currently work at Zappo as a recruiter. I actually don't live in Gibraltar, so it's my first time here. It's a first remote company, so I actually came here to visit our offices, which are upstairs. And basically, as we are very committed to gender balance, we're very interested in joining these kind of events in which we can connect with top talent, especially women, right? So that's it.
Cool. Thank you, Sandra. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Nuria Hajani, who's over here. And you're going to tell us a little bit about what you do.
Thank you, Denise. I'm Nuria. I do business development for a payments company based in Canada, and I am their representative here. I cover the European market. Doing business development means networking with other professionals in this space.
So we're very thankful for people like Denise who organise these kind of events to kind of grow in and meet new people.
So, another friend of mine, very lucky to work with these two ladies. So why don't you tell us who you are?
Being caught completely off guard. Didn't know this was happening, but my name is Joanne, and this is my colleague Maria, and we represent Sanborn, and we work for the sales team. So we're both the sales managers, and we've been there for 4 years. We do the events, but now our aim is to focus on the tourism and bringing events and from UK agents across and come over to Gibraltar. So that's our main aim for now, to showcase what we've got to offer here in our beautiful place. And apart from that, that's it.
Natasha, I see you're busy there. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks so much. My name is Natasha, and I'm actually work in London. I work for a place called Accelerator. We've got about 30 tech startups that work from there. Last year they raised about £14 million in investment, made about 22 million in revenue. So I'm going to be here this summertime and really excited to spend the next few months here getting to know some of the startups that are based here in Gibraltar.
Thanks, Natasha. She's one to watch. So, lastly but not least, we have one of our regulars and also her own startup founder, partners with Michaela at Knightsbridge Limited.
Hi everyone, I kind of thought you might forget about me, but I stood us out at the end of the aisle. My name's Sarah. I'm a founder of Knightsbridge Incorporations with my co-female director, Michaela Reese. We also have an accountancy practice here in Gibraltar, and we've received our license back in January after a year of going through the process. We work with startups to SMEs, and we consider ourselves a company manager with a little bit of a difference. We have over 30 years of experience in the UK and Europe with corporate management and tax planning. So we partner our clients looking at profitable margins, at troubleshooting potential financial problems, and we also look for opportunities in the Gibraltar and European markets. We believe in experience, and we use all our experience to make sure our clients have the best possible experience. So very glad to be here and really looking forward to meeting all of you over the course of the next few years.
So thank you guys. I think you all deserve a big round of applause. So back to you, Peter. Why don't you tell people who you are? Be that man in the room.
Hi, I think a number of you know me from last year. For those of you who go to Girls in Tech events, you definitely know me. My name is Peter Maresh. I am South African born, but I have very happily residing in Gibraltar for the last 7 years. I work in Playtech as a CTO for innovation, and I actually have my colleague over here, Christina, and my wife, Karen. And this all started as an idea last year to collaborate with Denise on Female Leaders Month. It was an awesome success, and so we're pretty excited to be part of it again. And really looking forward to hearing the stories of our 5 amazing panelists tonight.
So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Denise Matthews. I run Startup Grind Gibraltar through my own startup called One Media and Events. And I'm going to introduce you to our 5 panelists. We have Catherine Morgan from GFSC, Brenda Cuby, BC Training, Sophie Clifton Tucker from Little English, Justine Picardos, who is a partner at Hassan's, and Joanne Rodriguez, who is Business Development and Associate Director at Abacus. So, you know the drill, because I've already told you. So please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hey, hello everyone, and thank you, Denise. So my name is Catherine Morgan. I'm a director at the Financial Services Commission, so you can thank me for getting your license. Yeah. I've been working there for 4.5 years. I used to work at the Bank of England in London, which was super cool. I'm an actuary by training, and since I've moved here, I set up a local actuarial society called Actuaries Rock. And if you know of any girls, young women who want to become an actuary, please, please, please tell them to come and talk to me, because it is a really great career. It's one of the highest paid and least stressful careers in the world, according to the statistics. So it's fantastic for women and men. The Commission is a fantastic place to work. Not only do we get to see all the financial services across Gibraltar, and we're able to do things that really make a difference, but we have fantastic equal opportunities policies. So we are really committed to flexible working. We provide people with technology to allow them to work from home, to work flexibly, and to fit in with their own personal circumstances, which I think is super helpful for women. And yeah, thank you.
You're not off the hook yet.
Yep.
I get to ask a question.
Oh.
So tell me more about what encouraged you to get involved in actuarial science, to continue through. What excites you about working in the GFSB, and how are you involved in that change, that all those programs that you've implemented?
Okay, whoa, 3 questions. Okay. So why did I become an actuary? It was because I didn't want to become an accountant, and it was the next thing in the accountant, ACC, actuary, ACT. I said to my parents, I'm going to try it, and if I don't like it, I'm going to go and do something else. And I tried it, and I just love it. I've been an actuary for 30 years, and it's fantastic. It's interesting every day. I'm using my math skills, and what actuaries do is use maths to make sure that insurance companies and pension schemes charge the right prices and have enough money. And if you're putting your money into an insurance company and you need it 40 years later, we're the people who will do our best to make sure that it's there for you. So that's why I became an actuary. In terms of the GFSC, as part of our senior management team of 5 people, I've been really involved in helping to input into our HR policies. We have the coolest staff handbook in Gibraltar, I bet. It's really amazing, really no jargon at all, really helpful. And no rules, it's all principles, it's all go and talk to your manager, let's see what we can do. And because I'm really committed to improving opportunities for women, that's kind of a big driver for me in those conversations. Does that answer your 3 questions?
It does. Thank you very much.
Okay. So my name is Brenda, Cuby, founder of BC Training. We've been here in Gibraltar. I came back 12 and a half years ago with my husband, and I started setting up a social media business first of all. So I tend to do most of the social media online marketing training for the business, and we use other specialized trainers for the rest of the courses. So we do face-to-face training and we do online training. But I'm one of these people who can't just sit still, so last year I committed it to personal development, because I think that if I'm running a training business, I've got to show that we are committed to ourselves as well. So personal development was a big thing for me last year, and through that I did a lot of NLP, EFT, and so now I'm sort of doing a lot of focus on my EFT, which is, for those who are unaware of that, is emotional freedom technique, or known as tapping, and that helps break down, anything from phobias to illnesses to emotional blocks. And I use that in what I call my success coaching. So my success coaching is not just about business; it's about personal life as well. So I think I've been very lucky over the years to be surrounded by great mentors and great people, men and women, who have shown up and actually been there for me as I've gone through and as I've progressed. People who, my husband is one of them, and other people that I've worked with. And I'm very much a people's person. So if you're in my team, I've got your back, 100%. I'm going to go after whoever, is whatever the problem is. And success coaching that's what it does. We take it from here to there, wherever you want to go. If the goal is, you want to earn more money, or you want to be happier, or you want whatever it is, we'll figure it out together, and I'll be in that corner for you. The other thing which I can't not mention is my passionate work with GibSans. I'm an operational trustee for GibSans, and have been there from the start to set it up, and I oversee all the operations side of it. So for me, it's a big part of who I am, mental health, and the issues that surround that. It's not so much mental health, I don't really call it that anymore, we call it mental well-being. And again, we work with all of the essential services locally and the individuals. You know, we're just wanting you to know that it's okay not to be okay, and it's, you know, trying to get Gibraltar talking and trying to, you know, make people aware. And I think like the work that we've talked about it, that the GFSD has done with mental health, I think more businesses can do more, and that's where we're sort of pushing that forward this year. So thank you.
So you have a lot of things on the go. What is your secret to finding the balance to actually succeed in all the things that you do?
So the balance is to have a very supportive team around you and to actually be with like-minded people. So people like Denise, Joe, Fiona, there's a lot of people in this room who are very supportive in what we do, and that's what the balance is actually ensuring that you make the time and that you work smartly.
Hi. That's a hard one to follow, but I'll do my best. I'm Sophie Clifton Tucker. I'm the owner and founder of Little English Language School and the editor of the Gibraltar magazine. Born and raised in Gibraltar, but I did leave for around 8 years, initially for university, studied English and philosophy in Oxford, Brookes, and I decided I wanted to travel, see what the world had to offer a 21-year-old, naive 21-year-old. So I did my CELTA, which is Certificate in English Language Teaching to Adults, with the aim of teaching English sort of around the world. Spent a few months in Asia. It's a typical travelling story, really. Rocked up in Australia, where I was teaching a foundation university course in academic English, which I loved. But I got itchy feet and I decided to relocate to New Zealand. So I lived in Auckland for a while. I joined my now fiance there. Again, I was teaching English in a couple of schools. I was out there for just under 2 years, which is as long as the working holiday visa allows. And then again, I got itchy feet. So after a brief stint in Oxford again, we relocated to Japan, because why not? So by the day I was a Japanese student learning Japanese, and in the evenings I was teaching English. At this point, as much as I loved teaching, I really wanted to build something of my own, something I could be proud of and add to as the years go on. So I thought, well, I'll open my own language school. Simple as that. And I thought, well, we're better than Gibraltar. It's a place where we have a wealth of resources and a number of people who are just so willing to help you, like Denise, like I'm sure everyone here in the panel. And if you don't know something, your neighbour's granny, sister's auntie is going to know. So I feel like it's a really nice place to start off. So my school, Little English, has been open for 3 years now. And I've been the editor of Gibraltar magazine for, should have probably counted this before, 1.5 years, I think. And it brings me here today on this stage. So thank you.
Quick question. You've done a lot of traveling, a lot of firsts, a lot of challenges. Those all come with an implied fear that you had to get over. How do you get yourself over that mental hurdle of the unknown and just take that first step to start moving forward?
I don't know, but if anyone finds out, please let me know, because I'm shaking right now. Sort of big believer in feel the fear and do it anyway, as cringy as that sounds. I think if it scares you, it's a sign that it's going to lead to better things. So just push yourself outside that comfort zone. Thank you.
My story is not as exciting, or I didn't do as much traveling. I have quite a boring trajectory, actually. I am a partner at Hassan's. I work in the commercial department. I'm mainly a commercial lawyer, but I specialize in construction and development work. I have been at Hassan's since I was about 15 years old. And I used to go there as a student, and I used to go every summer. I probably went every Christmas and Easter, and I just used to come every time I went to university and come back, go back to Hassan's, and just that's pretty much been my life. Hassan's and now my family, but yeah.
They're going to be very happy with you.
They are slightly, yeah.
So that's pretty much me. I mean, we all know what lawyers do and we all know about it, so there's not really much I need to explain about my field.
Okay. So as a partner at Her Sons, a mother, 3 kids?
3 kids, yeah.
That's a balancing act. Can you tell us more about how you actually achieve that?
With great difficulty and a lot of sweat and emotional turmoil. It is very tough, but the only way you can do a job like mine or another, very high-end job in the sense that you need to put in a lot of hours and also balance that with your family is to have a lot of help. And I do that because I do have a lot of help. I have a lot of help at home. My children have a wonderful nanny. In Gibraltar, we're really lucky because we're so close and such a close community. We're able to benefit from having our parents around, and they obviously also help a lot. My mother still works, so I'm not one of those lucky ones who is able to have their mother take care of their kids. But I have a nanny who's wonderful, and so the children, have a lovely routine and they're very structured. And then I work from home as much as I can. A typical day for me would be finish work at whatever time, 6, 7 in the evening, and then when I realize I have to rush home because it's dinner time, I run home, make sure I put kids to bed, and then last night I finished at 1 o'clock in the morning because I was sat in my computer finishing work. So I guess you just have to be flexible and be able to balance that with some sort of flexibility, and a job like mine probably helps me do that as well.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jo. Excuse me. I work in business development for Abacus, who sponsor, as you can see behind here, the Startup Grind. So myself, I'm from Gibraltar and have spent some time in the UK as well. And I never really planned out my career path. I'm not the sort of organized type. So very much has been by default, has been by thinking we work so many hours that you really have to do something that you love, something that you get up in the morning and you really want to throw your heart and soul into it. So it depends who you are, what you enjoy. But for me, really, as I got older and started discovering myself, I realized that I love talking to people. I love listening to stories, genuine stories. I find people extremely interesting, and their businesses, and I guess that's why we're gathered here today as well, because everyone has their own personal story to share. And I think when you're genuinely interested in others, inevitably it does help when you're in some sort of sales role. But on the other hand, I've always enjoyed my academic studies and having, the ability or the flair for understanding, interpreting sort of technical aspects of work. So I sort of qualified, I ended up sort of in banking in Gibraltar. Then I thought I'm in my mid-20s, I want to travel as well. Not as exciting, far-flung, but I did go to the UK and I worked and qualified as a financial advisor for Lloyds Bank, which I found extremely interesting, especially as well working in a different, fast-paced, tough sales environment. And I was working with, a very demanding manager and a team. We were a team of 10 men and 2 women, but not that gender mattered, but they would always laugh at the car I drove because I had a little Peugeot 206, and they all had their lovely cars, and it is kind of a bit of a difference. There is a difference, we have to admit it, between men and women, but it doesn't mean that it has to stop us from achieving our dreams and goals. Most men are extremely supportive throughout the career. So when I moved back to Gibraltar then, I thought, what do I want to do? I know I want to be here. I worked in Lloyds in the UK for 8 years. I moved back to Gibraltar 5 years ago. And I had a skill set that I had developed in the UK. I absolutely love the UK. I love Gibraltar, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I knew that it had to be sales or people orientated. And I'd always had the opportunity to kind of marry financial services, which I got to know extremely well and love, with the love of interpersonal skills, interaction with people, you know. I can't believe I get paid to go for coffee and talk to people, you know, I love it. So basically I joined Abacus in the trust department, doing sort of investment reviews and assisting the trustee, you know, with all sort of the back office administration. But admin is not really my forte, even though it's necessary. But then we started identifying opportunities. It was a great time when the business was diversifying. We moved, you know, and I helped the business develop and grow into pensions administration and trusteeship in Gibraltar and abroad. We moved into fund administration. We also set up, you know, sort of a sister company in sort of wealth management. So it's all been progressive about flexibility, about having a vision and following it through. You know, obviously there's the board of directors, extremely flexible. They're open to ideas. So it's all about communication, approaching them and saying, oh, I have this idea. What do you think? Shall we work together on it? So somehow that's just seen my career path through, and it's been extremely exciting because I'm also responsible now for business development at Abacus in Gibraltar, in Portugal, in London, and in Hong Kong. So it's just so rewarding to be able to go abroad and promote Gibraltar as well, you know, because it's a place that we love, and to go out there doing your job and actually talking about Gibraltar, all its advantages, all its benefits, and why it's such a great place. It's a very exciting career, so yeah, thank you.
So we're going to talk to you all again. So if we go back to you, Joanne, I think Peter's going to ask you a question, and then we're going to talk about a little bit about your personal experiences. And we have sort of the private company structure versus the startup or business owner structure, and I'd like for you to make the comparison in terms of the flexibility and how you can enjoy flexibility as you progress in your work.
Yeah, you didn't escape. So you started telling us that you actually had no plan. You had no idea what you wanted to do, and yet, based on what we just heard, you fell into exactly the perfect role for you, right? That's taken a bit of time. Where was that point between not having a clue and then going, actually, that's what I want to do? Having that idea, like, that's what I want to pursue. Not the full story, but knowing that something was actually interesting enough for you that you were going to dedicate the time to working in it.
I think it was, there is something about the buzz of sales and of success and knowing that you've helped a client. So the main products I used to do when I was in Lloyd's were either investments or protection products. So there were times as well where, you know, very successful and selling and so, but for example, once, to give you an example, I had assisted a client with a critical illness policy, and unfortunately the client was diagnosed with cancer, and this for me was you know, it was kind of a turning point, because you realize that you're not just selling, you're actually helping people, you are providing a service, and it's extremely important. When that person came into the branch, and I couldn't even remember because you see so many clients. It was, you know, I was working with the retail markets, retail clients. So, and that person, you know, had tears in their eyes, and they were like, thank you. No, thank you so much. You have no idea what you've done for my family, because the policy has paid out. And now I am so much financially better off, and I can manage my illness. I can, you know, take time off work. You've changed my lifestyle. And I think that's when you realize that as much as we call it a sales job, really it's about people. And you think, well, you know, when you're selling to needs, I think you're actually providing a service that people like. So for me, I realized the value of what I was doing. And then I thought, well, you know, I want to move to Gibraltar. I want to come back home, having had this great experience. And I think that I have a skill set that I want to bring to Gibraltar and share. So I enjoy every day of what I do.
Good, thank you.
So you've achieved some of your goals, Justine, by becoming a partner of Hassan's, and you have achieved also a good work-life balance. So tell us a little bit of how you were able to progress within the business to be able to do that, and the flexibility that you can enjoy to sort of, what are the real important points that the company allows you to have as a working mother to be able to progress within your career?
I think that different law firms probably operate completely different. So a small setup will probably have a completely different way of having their, well, allowing flexibility and the kind of work-life balance that you can have. I know that there are a lot of firms that have a policy where they don't work very late, or they have a different target system. So I think it just depends on your firm, and the way that you have to meet certain targets. In Hassan's, for example, we have a yearly target that we have to meet, a yearly budget, and pretty much as long as you meet that, you are quite flexible to be in and out and do whatever you need to do. So I really work around that. I mean, as long as I'm hitting those targets, then I am quite flexible. Obviously, as you start progressing along your career, you start having people who start working for you, so a lot of the work is distributed and you're able to delegate a lot more, and that helps a lot because you have people who are also helping you, and I think if you work for a firm, I mean, Hassan's are particularly good, and I think lawyers have a particular flexibility that perhaps if you were a secretary, you probably wouldn't have, because they have to stay there for a certain amount of hours, and they actually have a more structured day. Whereas, as a lawyer, you're probably, well, at least in Hassan's, I'm definitely more flexible, and they're very good with the way that we are.
So is there anything that you would say generally as an overview of corporate structures is missing for working mums?
Absolutely. I think that there are many corporate structures that need to probably be a bit more flexible with working mums. I think that nowadays, I mean, we're so lucky that we have so much technology that we actually don't need to be in the office to do the work. So as I said earlier, last night I had so much work to do, but I just got up, left the office, went to my kids, did what I needed to do at home, and then sat down at the computer and carried on working. And nobody knows whether I'm in the office, I'm not in the office, as long as the work gets done, then I think that we can achieve that. And I think that is part of what a lot of corporate mentality needs to change, and realize that you don't have to be in the office, you don't have to stay there to be able to be seen, to be working. I think as long as you meet the targets you need to meet, your clients are happy, you are ensuring that you're on top of everything that you need to stay on top of, and you're getting the work done, then it doesn't really matter where you're sat. And I think that as many jobs are maybe starting to realize that, or I'm not sure if they are, but at least Hassan's is starting to...
So I see Sandra here is nodding. You're working for SuG, which is more of a US business model, and you mentioned you were working remotely. What can you tell us about this model?
Well, so far I can tell you it works, as in trusting people to do their work, as in be the owners of what they do, and based on results, right? Because as long as you do what you're supposed to do, and the company trusts you to do so, the model actually works, and we all have the flexibility to be connected on the PC, or do whatever we need to do, and actually, I personally find myself working more hours than I am supposed to do, but just because I feel so comfortable at home, like doing my stuff, and I don't have to commute, it's really, really nice. And also because it's a very international company that we couldn't do it otherwise.
Thank you. We're gonna head over to you, Sophie, because as a founder of your own language school and also juggling the role of editor of the Gibraltar magazine, how do you combine these two roles, and how did you achieve making both of them a success?
I think it's all about striking the right balance, and I'm still not sure that I have found that balance, because some of my days might be 17 hours long, some of them might be 7 hours long. But you've got to compartmentalize as much as possible if you're doing 2 jobs, or even one. You need to make sure you put in some time for R&R, because if you're not rested, then nobody gets the best of you. Sorry.
Yeah.
It has been a challenge, especially at first, to juggle the 2 jobs, but it's a lot about delegation, which is something I have a huge problem with, being a self-proclaimed bossy person. But this year, for example, I employed an office manager at Little English, and that, I think, has changed everything for me. Now she can handle the day-to-days, and I can focus more on the admin side and the magazine. So I don't have an answer for that. I just take each day as it comes, try to plan out my week before it happens, meet my deadlines, and one step at a time.
Thank you. How was the process of setting up Little English in Gibraltar? Did you find it was an easy process?
Not easy, definitely not easy, but I can't really compare it to anywhere else, but I think it would be easier than other places. There's so many people that are rooting for you and supporting you. And the way I did it, I think, might be quite different to some other people. Instead of injecting a lot of money into it, which I didn't have after my very extensive holidays, I decided to work around a sort of hermit crab basis. So I started out with my small shell, which is I borrowed a friend's office. They clocked off at 6 p.m, and then I'd go scuttling in, set it up, put the whiteboard up, and I'd teach there in the evenings. And that worked for a while. Eventually built up enough money to be able to rent my own place. So you can also do it in stages. It's not about having everything right in the beginning.
So what would you say would need to improve in Gibraltar to help people set up their own businesses like you have?
I would like to see it implemented into the school curriculum, if I'm honest, instead of having...
I'm with you.
You're right. Instead of having, okay, maybe sewing and textiles and all that is important, but one lesson a week where we're taught how to pay the mortgage, what a mortgage is, how to set up our own business, I think that would be hugely beneficial. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. So, Brenda, you're going to share with us a little bit about your beginnings, how you started with social media, marketing, and your interest in startups, and how you eventually became BC Training.
Okay, so when we moved here, I realised that I needed to do something because I'd always helped my husband with his business. I'd been very fortunate to have the time with my children when they were growing up, and we worked together on his business. And when we came back here, I realised that I needed to do something. So I got involved in blogging and social media, and I was working mainly in the UK because it really wasn't known here at that time. And I was doing a lot of stuff, and then people locally were sort of hearing about it, and I was, obviously I'm a marketer of myself, and I was going to events and I was going to networks, and and talking about social media. I love to talk, so I was talking about it, and eventually I wore people down, and they were like, okay, we need to learn about it. We want to know more about it. So I set up my own startup with featuring on social media, and teaching people how to use social media. And the pros and the cons, and at that time, it changes so quickly, but at that time Facebook pages were just starting, so people were still having personal profiles with their business names, and so we went through a whole lot of change of that, and it was really exciting because being involved in that, and as we've discussed, I got involved in the startup community in the UK. So I was lucky enough to be invited to go to Tech City and actually do a presentation on my startup of, at that time it was known as Work It Gib. And, and I was able to go and explain what it was. And we looked at bringing, like the startup hubs here, talked about bringing accelerators and all of that. But at that time, it was just too new for here. We didn't have all the startups, the fintechs, all of that was going on. And so it kind of sort of died a death, and it didn't really go anywhere. And it's a passion of mine about getting, small businesses. I think small businesses I've always been involved in that side of things, and it's so important to the economy, so important to people, how they feel, how getting involved in something, being passionate about it, and actually making it your dream, because we can all work around it. It's very easy to work around it. And then from there, I got more into this training. I am a sort of an ongoing educator. Or, that's really one of the things that has been used to describe me. And so I'm always learning. Every day's a learning day. And so the training side of that really sort of started impacting, and training out social media, how to use it correctly, what you would do with it. I then got into that side of the business, and I have tried partnerships. I've worked, I love working with people, but I'm better as my own boss. I'm a visionary, so my team will always say, the worst, when I walk in the office or I email them and I say to them, I've got an idea. They run for the wire, because they know that we're going to be looking at where we're going with it, and I am that visionary as a leader, and it's difficult, because when you're naturally a visionary, everything has potential, and I'm such a into positivity, right? So if you tell me that we can make money from renting this out, then I'll tell you, it's not a problem. I'll find you a way of doing it. So it can be a negative as well, because sometimes you have to rein it in. Yeah. But that's why I find mentoring such an important thing, because you can sort of run those ideas, and that's part of the reason why I flipped into the success coach, because I've had so much success with that, with people supporting me, and being the one saying to me, actually, you need to say no. That's not going to work. You don't want to be with that person. You need to sort of stop and take a rain check, or then supporting me and saying, hell, go for it, girl. You can do it. So
that's fabulous, and you've done some great work with women in business too, as well as Fiona, who's over there hiding. So, Catherine, we're going to go over to you, and could you tell us a little bit about what the transition of GFSC has seen in the past few years in terms of new business and new industry?
Okay, how long have you got? So the biggest industry that we regulate is insurance, and insurance has just continued to grow. So the firms here growing organically, the big firms getting bigger, new firms coming in, new interesting business models in insurance. We've had new banks. Marty, you said you worked for a startup bank. Got Zappo here as well. So we've seen innovation in the banking area. We've seen mergers and acquisitions happening. That's been quite interesting. And then of course we've got our distributed ledger technology framework. Paul, yes, you should really be talking about this. So we've licensed, I think it's 8 firms so far who are fully licensed and operating. Quite a few from this building, and we're still looking at quite a few more applications. Nathan, are you? Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, thank you. I may be an actuary, but I'm not that good at numbers, sorry. And that's been really interesting. What's exciting about our distributed ledger technology and the way we look at innovation is it's almost like we will build it and they will come. It's a very, very flexible framework. So there's loads of scope there for disruptors, innovators, fintech to come in and move into the regulated community, which gives them a bit of a seal of approval and a way of distinguishing themselves from possibly the Wild West that's out there in other jurisdictions. So I'm super positive about all that. I think we have the right attitude as a regulator. We're really open to that. And I just hope and pray that loads more of these new businesses will come into Gibraltar, because we're ready and waiting.
Thank you. So, final round. You've made it so far. I'm going to ask each of you the same question so you can prepare. Who wants to go first, because everyone else gets an advantage? So, Catherine, you're first. Okay. If there was a piece of advice you had to give to an aspiring actuary, or to an actuarial firm, or to the family of that aspiring actuary, or all three, what would that be that they can go away with and actually aim to become a success?
So I would have a more generic piece of advice for people who are starting out on something, which is take risks. So don't be scared by your limitations. So because they're all in your head. So I have a postcard on my dressing table of a guy who looks very like my granddad. My granddad was someone who never took risks. He wouldn't even buy a house because people of his class in life didn't buy houses. And the picture is of a man who looks like him in Mallorca in the 1930s. And the reason I have that picture is because the only thing that was stopping my granddad going to Mallorca was himself. And I think that's it. It's all in your head. You're the only person who is pulling you back. So take the risk, try it out, fail, and learn from failing.
Excellent. Brenda, for you, any advice you want to give on the personal, the corporate, and the support structure level?
Okay, so I think I totally agree with Catherine in the fact that it's all in your head and that you are your own potential and that we should all be supporting that. I always tell people think big and then think bigger because nothing is impossible unless if you don't do it. So for me, the advice is, do what you're passionate about because as Joanne said earlier, you need to get up and actually want to do it. You actually want face each day, and I'm a great believer in planning what your goals are. So set 30-day goals, 60-day goals, 90-day goals, and revisit them. And also have a mentor. I have several mentors. I've got several. Okay, it's back. I've got several mentors who help and assist me in my everyday life, whether it's personal, business, relationships, whatever it is. They inspire me to be the best version of me, and that's what I think we can all aspire to, is to be the best version of you. And what that is for you and what that is for me is going to be completely different, but it's really important that for your own mental wellness, for your own happiness, for your own security, it doesn't matter whether you have a massive 7-bedroom house or a 1-bedroom flat, or you spend $500,000 on holidays, or you only go away once a year, or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's what makes you happy and secure, and I think that's what's really important.
Thank you. Sophie, same question for you. Personal advice, or not corporate, but let's go with personal advice, the motivation. The two ladies before you said, just take the risk. Now, I believe that a lot of people want to take the risk, but they just can't get over that unknown, that fear of the unknown. Maybe there's something there that you can advise on?
I think it's just important to have a viable product or service, whatever that may be, and to believe in it wholeheartedly. It's got to be something that makes you go, oh, I wish I'd thought of that. Or because otherwise it might lead to, oh, I did think of that, but I didn't have the confidence to act upon it, or somebody else did it before me. So just take that leap of faith. If you look at people like, Richard Branson or J.K. Rowling, if they'd given up on the first hurdle, or even the second, third, fourth, they wouldn't be where they are today. So don't look at the mountain as a whole, just break it up into smaller bits. If you find you can't get any higher at one point, change tack, find someone to help you, and keep moving, basically.
Okay. So just keep taking a step forward. Yeah. Justine, advice that you want to give aspiring lawyers or people who have had their life circumstances change and now need to reprioritize their lives in a way that makes them continue to be happy and continue to chase their ambitions?
So I think there's not much advice to give an aspiring lawyer other than work hard and, that's pretty much standard. But I think probably more interestingly is maybe for young girls, I think, who aspire to be in a profession that is demanding, is to just work hard, focus, and take it as it comes as well. And you know where your goals are, you know what you want to achieve, and sometimes those goals are changing. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that you get to a particular goal and say, that's it, I've achieved it, and I'm here. Sometimes you get to that goal and you think, actually, this is not really what I want to do, and you change it completely, and that's fine. But if something gets in the way, or if you have a family, or your circumstances change where suddenly there's an upheaval, I think you just need to take it as it comes and just try and deal with things slowly and calmly, and just say, well, how do I achieve this, and try to make them both work. And sometimes it means asking for more help and getting more people around you, and that is, I can say that happily, that's what I do. I have a very good support network in order to enable me to do what I do, and I think that's pretty much what you need. I think you need a very good support network, and people not only in the office but at home, and a partner who supports you in everything that you do, and who also, cheers you on, and also wants to see you succeed as well. So I think all of that in the mix is something that would be.
So, follow-up question. As you know, a lot of Gibraltar is actually made up of expats, people who are not Gibraltarian, who moved here for work, for the sun. What would you recommend that they do when that support network isn't just there for them?
Well, I think that in the office you can probably find that support network, because I mean, a lot of people, I imagine, when they come from abroad, most of their friends will probably be from the office to begin with. I can't really relate, because I obviously have been brought up here. But when I went to university, I went by myself. I didn't have any friends, and the first thing you do is make friends in your class, in your tutorial group, and I suppose that is how it works when you are an expat and you start a new job and there's nobody around who you really know, and you slowly start to develop those relationships. So when you develop those relationships, I assume that from extended relationships, you then start having a small community of friends and of people who you know, who you get on with, and then you slowly start to develop. I mean, obviously, there's all the traditional stuff like joining clubs, hobbies, and extending your network. And it's just really about getting to know people, and the more people you know, then I suppose that's where the support network comes from. And then it depends on what it is that you want in life. So if it's a person who has come with their family and they need a support network because they need help with the kids, then I suppose you just find people who can help you do that. If it's a support network within the office, then you achieve that within your office role and delegation, or depending on what it is that you do. So yeah, I think it's just
is a hard one.
Making friends.
Cool, which I've clearly have not done tonight. All right. Joe? Any advice you have that you'd want to share with us?
It is hard, because there's so much that I want to say, because, so many years you just learn so many things. But I think for me, what's kept me going, really, I think it's about being positive, because whatever you want to do, whatever your goals are, you need to, like we've already said, believe in yourself. But I do think that enthusiasm is contagious. So whatever you're promoting, whether you're asking for help, whether you're promoting your service, your jurisdiction, whether you're asking, in a bank, asking for lending, or whether you're just talking to professional partners, whoever, we can't succeed on our own, because even if we're business owners and we have our own business and you don't have a manager, for example, you still have clients, you still have people, the stakeholders, external parties you need to work with. And I think that when you're enthusiastic and you show a real genuine, then people will come on board with you. People will want to work with you. They'll want to listen to your story. They'll want to help you. And I found that really, really important, because I think if you're open, positive, approachable, with the right attitude and a genuine enthusiasm for success, for doing better, for self-development and improvement, and you're a team player and you do it for yourself, for the people around you, I just think that you have so much better chance of success. And I have always personally found that even when it's a challenge and you think, I'm going to try this, but I'm not sure that I can deliver. I'm not sure that it's going to be well received. But I always think that if you do it with a smile, you have obviously a sensible project and you back it up and you explain why, and you can really show that you really, really want it. I think people do try and help. Generally, that's what I've found.
So this is great advice for closing. I'm going to, did you want to say something? Okay. So I'm going to put a question a little bit to the audience as well as the panel. And I want to know what the audience feels is the one thing in their minds that is the most important thing that needs to change for women to achieve equality. So I'm going to go over to Fiona, who's still trying to hide.
I was that person that you just asked Justine about, so I'll rescue you. Because Justine knows it was me. I came over to Gibraltar in 2003 as a lawyer from a city law firm in the UK, because my husband, it's very 1950s of me, my husband got a job out here, and I gave up my city law firm job to follow him, because he was a hottie. So basically, and so I was that person, and what Justine said was exactly right. Getting that office network, the people that I met, the people who mentored me. Justine's husband Fabian was one of my early mentors. Julian Guzman QC was one of my early mentors. They became my network pre-kids, so that was, I didn't have anyone. However, I did then go and do the 1950s thing of having kids too, and trying to be, balance that. Now, my answer actually was, it's okay to take a bit of time, and that's what I chose to do. I chose to take 5 or 6 years, and by golly gosh did that fly, and by golly gosh did I not actually miss a moment, because by the time I got back into the office, apart from things called Skype and Hangouts, which was all rather new to me, everything was pretty much the same. And the question that you asked, what can we do to support one another, is actually for companies, particularly women, but men as well, to accept that women with families who choose to have careers, they're not going to be out for a very long time. Kids have this amazing ability to grow older and not need us for much longer, and I'm there. And so we may be out for a little while, but boy oh boy do we come back with a vengeance, because we've been playing with Play-Doh and slime, and we are desperate to get back into what we're doing and do it well. The other thing is that we have an ability to multitask, which is, that should go at the top of a CV. I have kids that can talk to me at the same time, and I can answer both questions, plus my husband's. That's a skill. And it's transferable into the office. So I think we have to come into the thinking that women can have both. And we don't have to be in a hurry to have both, but we definitely need to be supported by those that we work with, by our mentors, by our colleagues, in making that happen, and trusted to do it, because we will and we can.
That was awesome, as usual. So Marta, you just came into the GBX in a new role. Tell us how you feel coming into a new company, that women, the one thing that's most important to you to be embraced as a woman and to feel as an equal in the boardroom.
Yes, so this is the third company that I'm in minority when it comes to actually being a female. But what I feel at GBX is that I'm really welcome, and it's okay to ask for help, which is sometimes when we join a new firm, we have, I do, an urge to do it all perfectly well the first day, and that asking questions is a bit of a, shall I, or will they think I don't know it all, or I'm not bringing the right set of skills that is expected of me. And what I've learned from being just over 2 weeks there is that it is okay to ask the questions. GBX, all the team and colleagues are really, really open, and that diversity is welcomed there.
So confidence.
Definitely.
They need to have confidence.
Yes.
So Angelique, as a managing partner, I know you have a long history with EY, and to achieve that and start a family, I remember being in one of your talks. So So tell us how you were able to do that within the company.
Well, I think somebody up there said it's about having the right support and having the right team. And I think for me it has been that. If I hadn't had the right team and the right support around me and the right mentoring, it wouldn't have been possible. So for years, I think when my son was about 6 months old, I'd just come back from maternity leave and I said, I'm not working full time. So from then, I've been working, and I still work part-time, flexible, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do it without the right support around me. So I leave the office, yes, my son's going to be 18 now. 18 years ago, we didn't quite have the same technology we have now, so I had to have a great team. And right now, the responsibilities are much higher than I had 18 years ago. So while I was running a department before, I'm now running the whole office. So again, it's about having the right people around you and the right support. So that's one. And I think I echo somebody else said, it's about providing the right support network and the right flexibility for women to be able to achieve. I mean, I've been quite lucky in that respect, is that I've always had somebody who has valued what I brought to the firm. And whenever when my peers were about to make partner and I was not going to make partner because I worked part-time, I said, I'm going to leave because I'm not going to work under them. And somebody turned around and said, no, actually, why do you have to leave because you work less hours? You probably bring more value to the firm in those hours that you're here. And so somebody turned around and said, okay, you can be a partner even though you don't work, the same hours as everybody else. So it's having that right mentoring, support, flexibility, and seeing the value of the women that you have in your workplace and supporting them.
So Peter, I'm going to take it over to you since you're the only guy with a mic. And I'm going to ask you, so as a guy who runs teams and of women within technology and also as the co-managing director of the great organization that you run with Christina, Girls in Tech, what do you think needs to change for women to be able to feel and achieve equality? Go on then.
I think you're going to regret asking that. Okay. There are a couple of things across the spectrum. First of all, I think women need to start supporting women. Just that's it. There's no ifs or buts. Women just need to start supporting women, right? I think companies need to recognize that biologically we're different, right? And there's a reason for that, so we need to make some allowances which are still commercially viable, but allow every person to reach their own individual potential, work to their skill set, and deliver to their ambitions. That everyone needs to have a fair and unbiased opportunity. And lastly, I think companies are scared because they feel like they're going to be paying for time that they're not going to get back. And that mentality has to change. It's similar to the trust. Companies need to start learning to trust. We need to break out of the traditional mindset and actually have the courage to try something new and iterate on that idea. So trust and more acceptance and more understanding, more flexibility, I think all of those things need to become part of the DNA of a modern corporation.
Any questions for the panel? No? Okay, so go on. Go on.
So I have a question for Brenda. So in the FSC we have mental health first aiders who are fantastic because they are trained to spot if people have a mental health issue, and then we have a whole mental health support network, including counselling, which I myself have used. And I wanted to ask you, Brenda, do you think that that is something that all companies in Gibraltar should be required to do?
Yes. That's the easy answer. I'd love that. I think that you are a beacon actually in Gibraltar with what you're doing with mental health. I'd like to see all companies, so please take the message back to your company that mental wellness should be at the top of the priority list. And there are lots of organisations locally, not just GibSAMs, who are fighting this fight. And I think that it's really important that we all sort of stand up together and look at how each and every individual organisation can actually make a difference. Whether that is having, taking part in the mental health first aid course that's run by Clubhouse locally, whether that is organising wellness days, whether that is giving your staff time off to do charity work, whether that's getting them to volunteer for organisations like ourselves and Childline, and whatever it is, you should, it's up to us all to take that responsibility. So yes, please do. If you want to know more about GibSAMs, please do come. I'm very, very passionate about it and can talk all night about it. So thank you for asking the question.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to say some quick thank yous to everybody who's come. Every single one of you is special to me, because not only the people who come to my events regularly, but the ones who make the effort after work, are tired but come down to listen to our talks, to meet each other. I really hope that the networking and the value you take from these events, I put all my heart and soul into it, and I'm really proud to have shared this event with Girls in Tech, with our fabulous panelists. We also have the team from Redefined Sound, Anton, who does our video, Margaret, the co-director, who's always working hard preparing things for me, the sponsors, Gibraltar Finance, Abacus, and World Trade Center, who are our venue partners, and obviously, Peter, over to you, before I cry.
Don't cry. Also very, very happy to have had a second chance to do this. It is a good event. It's a great event.
Thank you.
And you really do pour your heart and soul into this. We can see that, so congratulations. From our side, we're very, very lucky to celebrate these events with our sponsors and with the collaborations that we do with Startup Grind. Both worthy efforts, and unless you do an event like this, you don't understand how hard these things can actually be. So congratulations, Denise.
Thank you all for coming. Enjoy some drinks and enjoy some food. Over and out.